Good morning, ladies and gents. Welcome to Mr. Businessman. What day is it? Wednesday, I think. It's hard to keep track of days. It's a bit like, that time between Christmas and New Year at the minute where you don't really know what the hell you're doing. It's a bit like that, trying to give some kind of structure to your day. And can I give the suggestion that do something like I'm doing? The fact that I do this in the morning is good for me as well. So it's not only providing a service, but um, it's good for me personally because it means that I've got something to get up for, not just lazing around all day. It means I'm being productive. So I'm actually doing something of worth. To be honest, I'm getting stuff done that I would never have had time to do normally, which is going to be dead useful for me in the future as well, which is really good. And hopefully, as I said, it gives you a little bit of something. The same thing really is a reason to get up. In terms of all right, well, Ryan's going to be on at 10. Let's get up, do a little bit of business in the morning, and then and really, you're probably going to be doing more business now than you usually would have done, which is always a positive thing as well. So what we're going to do today is we've been through the old financial documents, and we're going to carry on with marketing. Now, I wasn't actually planning on, if we were still at college, I wouldn't be doing marketing yet. I'd be doing marketing probably after Easter, which is still a couple of weeks away. The reason I'm doing it now is because it seems more sensible to finish the spec in totality, and then start again from the start, because I know there was a lot of people. Well, there was a couple of people definitely where we are that joined the course late, that maybe can't remember stuff. It's a lot. There's a hell of a lot on this spec. It's a 2-year spec. Remember, we've only just done half of it. And I know that there is a lot of people who maybe didn't get the opportunity to see the earlier ones and things like that, weren't in the lessons, or maybe didn't get the same access to resources and lessons and stuff that everybody else did. So I thought, brilliant for students who even did attend those as well. So let's finish the spec off. We've got quite a lot to do in terms of marketing. So this is probably going to take us, probably all next week and a bit more, in terms of that's what we're going to be talking about is marketing. So get your marketing heads on, and then we'll start again. Essentially, we'll start right from the start, do some things. I think I'm going to do a couple of videos on exam prep stuff as well. Like AO1s, AO2s, AO3s, AO4s. Maybe a couple of videos on just really breaking down exam questions, because I know that's something that you guys particularly really enjoy on a Friday, is getting those those exam questions done. So I feel like you've been missing out on that, and I don't want you to miss out on that. So do you like my hair today? By the way, I've just gone with a different sort of look. But yeah, we'll get straight into it. All right, here we go. I need to get better at these buttons, by the way. Here we go. So, we're going to be talking about marketing today. Now, good opportunity for you to use some of your own knowledge in this. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about really sort of comes down to understanding demographics. And we're going to talk about demographics a lot more, but it's understanding. The main thing I want you to start with is we're going to talk about what marketing is, but I want to start with the premise that you've got to understand as a good business student that you are not the average consumer. Okay? So, and you're not the average consumer for 99.9% of products, because there is no way that your demographic, your various physical, sociological, physiological, whatever it is, that we're going to talk about them in more detail. Psychological needs, physical needs, all the different things that you as a consumer have from your products and what you want to do. There is no way that is representative of all consumers. So I want to start with that, because I think students sometimes start to think, well, I wouldn't buy that, so therefore no one would buy that. And that is the enemy of marketing. That's the complete opposite way of thinking. You need to think, if someone would buy this, then we need to figure out who that person would be and exploit it. Now, I will be using words like exploit as well. It makes me sound dead negative. I don't mean that. I don't mean exploit as in, be horrible to. I mean exploit as in take advantage of. And sometimes we can use sort of negative words and things like that in business when we don't. They're not supposed to be negative. They're just words we use. So don't think I'm trying to be really cynical. You know me, I'm cynical anyway, but I will tell you if I'm being cynical. Okay, so first things first, let's have a look at some logos, all right? So this is my case in point, but have a look at these logos, okay, and just see how many of those you can name. So I'll just give you a second or two. Just have a look at them. And just see which ones you can know, which ones you don't. So do you know most of them? Do you know a few of them? Okay, let's have a look. Which ones do I know? On the left-hand side, we've got Shell, we've got Apple, Wendy's, Chevrolet, Hilton, Chanel, History Channel, Pepsi, Microsoft. What's the R? I feel like I know that. Don't know what that one is, top left. Not sure about the V. Starbucks, Adidas, WD. What is that? I know that. I've seen that place. Is it something to do with pens or something? Don't know what that is. Is that Hyundai? No, Hyundai's no. That's something to do with cars, I know. So the one under Starbucks is something to do with cars. Calvin Klein, Audi, Xbox, Target, and I think that might be. Not sure about the bottom right either. Now, you might be thinking, oh, Ryan, that's unreasonable. You should know all these things. And of course, as a complete business thesaurus and dictionary, I should know all these things. But that isn't what I am, am I? I am a consumer just the same as you, and I will come into contact with certain brands. So what I want you to be thinking about with these is how many do you know, and the ones that you do know, do they follow a theme? Okay, do they have a certain demographic, and when we mean demographic, sort of collection of attributes that make up the consumer? What kind of consumer is going for these things, and is it aimed at you? Is that why you know of it, or are they bloody good at marketing and you know about these things? So, why do I not know about them? Well, because I might not be in the target demographic for these things either. I'm more likely to know what, and as well, they're very Americanized, these, aren't they? So. Stuff like Wendy's, it's geographic segmentation in the same respect. So geographically, they don't operate in the UK. So not that I know of anyway. I've never seen a Wendy's, but I've seen that before, and I know that there's a that's a big brand in America. Same for the other things. You might have not heard of Hilton, or rather, you might have heard of them, but you've never used them. You're more likely to have seen sort of like Audi, Pepsi, Xbox, that kind of stuff. Not because, and especially Apple, not because you necessarily are the consumer, although with Apple you probably are, but because they are very, very good at marketing. So. Let's push on anyway. So keep that in mind all the time with this, is you're not the average consumer, okay? There's a hell of a lot of different types of consumers, and we need to be able to be confident that we can talk from their perspective as well. So let's have a look at what we're going to do. So explain the purpose of marketing, its importance to different types of business organisations, different situations. Remember, always talking about different situations, always talking about, as AO4 points, put me in different situations, big business, small business, that kind of stuff. Explain what is meant by the marketing orientation. Now, market orientation is something you won't have come into contact with. I'll explain it in a moment. Explain what is meant by the marketing mix. Marketing mix is a big one. We're going to be doing a couple of lessons on the marketing mix, different parts of the marketing mix. Explain what is meant by the product portfolio, brand, unique selling point, and differentiation. And then evaluate the importance of having the right products to a business and its stakeholders. So quite a lot to do. We're going to have a jam-packed 45 minutes. So let's jump straight in. First things first, roles of the marketing function. Lots of people think marketing is just advertising when it isn't. There is a hell of a lot of things that the marketing function actually do for companies. I've worked in marketing before. You'd never know, would you, in terms of how flamboyant I am, that I would be involved in marketing. But I worked at marketing in a children's children's sort of children's toys distribution. That's what we worked in. So we worked with things like Mattel. We worked with Activision on sort of Skylanders and the Call of Duty series and things like that. We worked with loads of people. Hot Wheels, Barbie. Did I say Barbie? There's all sorts. Anyway, we did all sorts, and we made our own products as well. So I had first-hand experience of this, but I didn't know. I didn't know when I started that that was, as many things as we'd be getting involved with. So let's just have a little look through a couple of things that are on here. So first things first, research. Research is a massive one. So if you've got your packs, write it down, okay? If you haven't, write it down on your hand. Researching the market. So we talked a little bit about market research a couple of lessons ago. While we were still in class, we were talking about market research, weren't we? Primary, secondary. I used to do that. I used to look into markets and find out what consumers want, what current products were out there. We didn't want to be launching something that was exactly the same as something else. Next one's analysing the market. So what is the market currently looking at? Is it growing? Is it shrinking? Is there a consistency about it? Is it safe to launch a new product in? So a lot of my time was spent looking at market trends and things like that as well. What else have we got on the list? Setting of marketing goals and objectives. Not something I physically did myself. My manager did that at the time because I was on the assistant because I was still at university when I did it. He would set marketing goals. Same as it was quite a small business. The CEO would, or rather the MD, would come up with these goals and things for us to do as well. So they'd be setting those marketing goals, aims, and objectives. Developing a marketing strategy. Again, I was involved in this. We had to make a decision on new products that we made, and how that would affect the business and things like that. I'm not sure. I don't think I can show it you on here because I don't think you'll be able to hear. But I think I might have shown it a couple of people. But go on YouTube and put in Magic Chalk. Okay, Magic Chalk, and there's also another one, Jelly Bath, spelt with a G, Jelly Bath. Bath with two F's. I don't know why it was called that. You may have heard of these products before, but you especially Jelly Bath, people have, kids tend to have heard of Jelly Bath. We worked on those. They were our own products, and not something the most proud I am of working on those products, but we made it better. It was a lot worse. I used to work with a guy who was a graphic designer, and he made a massive massive change to it. Completely redid all the branding, looked a lot better. Okay. Anyway, creating a customer profile. Now, we're going to be talking about customer profiles a lot more detail, okay? And we're going to be talking about how coming up with what type of products you have will massively affect the take up by your consumer. Okay, so you need to really, really think about what the kind of consumer is what their age, what's the gender, what's the as many demographic sort of factors as we can do, and stereotype them as well. Stereotypes are always a negative thing in society at the minute, but in marketing we use stereotypes all the time. We have to, because we can't make up for everything. We have to then say, right, okay, well, what does the average man, what does the average 20-year-old man, what does the average 16-year-old boy, that's stereotyping people, but it also works as well. So we do our research, but we also have a look at these kind of things. We also look at promotions and advertising. Of course we do. That's the thing that you all think that we do all the time, and we do advertising, and we do promotions. We design them. We look into the response of them, but we also track them at the end of it as well. Customer feedback. This is another one. We deal with customer feedback. We're a little bit like customer service sometimes, marketing, and that was probably because we were quite a small business I was dealing with and I was working with at the time. Was the reason that I was involved with so much. But we deal with customer feedback. So if you're getting in touch with companies to complain and things like that, a lot of the time you might be talking to marketing, and their main goal is to make sure that you get a positive outcome from this experience as much as you can, because they say you have a bad experience, you tell 10 people, you have a good experience, you tell 2. When do you ever go around saying how good an experience was at somewhere? Except if it's like a restaurant and you're trying to, say how good it was and things like that. But it's unusual. You don't go, oh wow, I bought this hammer from B&Q and it was amazing. I love that hammer. Oh, it was fantastic. It really, really knocked in nails really, really well. Or the grip on it was fantastic. You don't do it. It's not really. Oh yeah, I got exactly what I was expecting from McDonald's the other day. I got my chicken legend, and when I ate it, it wasn't cold. It wasn't. It was fantastic. Yeah, it was actually, and they hadn't forgot to put mayonnaise on it. Oh, it was. You just don't do it. It's but you will be the first people to go online and really have a jab at companies for not doing things. So be sensible about stuff like that. Be aware that people will do that, and people have a vested interest in you failing. So they will go, and you as a business, they will go out of the way to try and sort of put up negative things. And you can't trust the reviews either. Don't always trust the reviews online. Sometimes they're lying. Okay, so definition of marketing, and you can pause this, pause the stream, write it down. Marketing is the management process involved in identifying, anticipating, and satisfying customer requirements profitably. So it's 3 parts, isn't it? We've got to identify, we've got to anticipate, and we've got to satisfy. So identify, anticipate, satisfy. If we can do that effectively, then you can you're not only going to be successful today, but you're going to be successful sort of continuously. Okay. Let's keep going. Now, common objectives of the marketing function. Really important bit this. So again, something where I think you should pause the stream, have a little go at filling these in, and let's have a look through. So I'll just give you a second to pause, and then I'll carry on, and then I'll go through the answers. Okay, so we have got a wide range of different objectives and functions here, haven't we? So first of all, increase marketing share. How could we do that? How could we increase our market share? Do you remember market share? If you think about it as a pie, it's our section of the pie. It's our section, our control, our dominance over that market. How could we do it? Well, the main thing that we can do is increase revenue, can't we? We can increase revenue by increasing sales if we can. Remember, it's not as simple as that, is it? You can't just increase sales, but ideally increase sales. Change the price. Remember, if we think about price elasticity, we can think about we might be able to put the price up slightly or down slightly and have a positive impact on that revenue stream. We might be able to research competitor activity. Another one. How can we increase market share? Well, let's have a look at what our competitors are doing, and let's copy them, or let's try and outdo them in somewhere. Why is it that when you see a sort of like when you see a big release, in terms of like a big film release, I don't know if you've seen it, but you always see these really crazy, like really badly done animations films that come out after Disney do a film. So Disney will do one called The Incredibles, and there'll be another one called The Insatiables, or something like that. And it will be basically the same, done by some like little random animation studio, and they're trying to do that, increase market share. I mean, it's not realistic. They're trying to take advantage of the fact that everybody's looking for that, and people who are a little bit less unscrupulous than we do won't have a massive knowledge of like say your gran or something like that might go out and buy you the wrong thing or something like that. That's the stereotype for older people, isn't it? But yeah, it's businesses will take advantage of things like that, Okay, and so we've got the next one's increased sales revenue. How can we physically do it? Special offers, let's do 2 for 1. Let's do, special offer 10% off, that kind of stuff. We can do that. Or give away a special gift. If you go into Boots and places like that, they tend to give away special gifts. You get a free bag. You get a free, lip gloss or something like that, or whatever it is with a scent. You might get something slightly different, something for a man if you bought something for a woman, whatever it is. Develop a new product or service. When you do this, it's a very long and drawn out process, and we are going to go over stuff like product life cycles and things like that. So I'm not going to go into too much detail right now because this in its own right is a big, long, drawn out process. But everything from the right at the start, the initial ideas of the actual product, all the way up to the delivery of the product, and then the after sales product occur as well. So it's a wide ranging thing. And then we've got things like enter new markets. Now we're going to do something on entering new markets again as well. Each one of these really is their own. It could be its own lesson in its own right. But entering new markets, we have to research the market. We have to decide what market we're going into. It can be any of the demographic factors. It could be moving into specifically targeting any number of demographic factors. So. All right, well, we're going to aim it at women now. We're going to aim it at a different age group. We're going to aim it at kids. We're going to aim it at older people. We're going to aim it at people who live in Spain. We're going to live it in, whatever it is. There's a wide range of different demographic factors that you can aim your product at, and you've just got to make that decision at the time. Okay. Now, the next one is increase brand awareness. One of the main things marketing and marketeers do is try to increase brand awareness all the time. So what can you do to get your name out there? This is something that, a lot of students have it in their minds that social media is an effective way of getting marketing out there. Oh yeah, well, what would you do for this marketing campaign? Well, I would do a social media campaign. Oh yeah, you and everybody else. And why would you do that? Because it's free. Well, do you not think then that if it's free, it's not that useful? Now, I'm not saying that marketing through social media channels is completely ineffective, but what I'm saying is you are completely snowed under by alternative businesses. And you are going to be competing with much stronger competition than you used to. So if you had something on the side of a bus, it's not like you're going to be having, 200 buses that are all stacked up and yours is 135th in the, in the line, and you don't actually get to sort of find your bus because it's hidden behind all the other buses. That's the problem with social media, is the fact that you can't. Although you can be quite specific about who you want to rate, I don't think I've ever seen anything on social media and gone out and bought it. You'll have to tell me if it's different. It might be different for a different demographic. I am a different demographic. Remember, I'm not that much older than the average student at this minute, but I am enough older that I am a different demographic group. So it's something that we need to keep in mind. All right. So where are we? We're up to profit margins. Increase profit margins. Okay, so increase revenue, reduce costs. That's the only thing we can really do for profit margins. We talked about profit margins last time. Remember, the only thing we can do is either increase our revenue or reduce our costs. They're the only thing that you can really do with your profit margins in general. And remember that it's not as simple as saying that. You've got all the other things to think about when we're reducing costs. How do we physically do it? We can do a special offer. We can reduce costs or something like that. But in terms of improve customer satisfaction, customer research, satisfaction surveys, that kind of stuff is really good. We are bothered about this. As I said, people misunderstand. People think that's customer service. We are customer service as well as marketing. We're bothered about how people experience the product, the brand. How does it make us look? And then finally, reduce marketing expenditure. As much as we can, we want to do it as cheaply as we can, but not to the point where we say, oh, it's free, and we are, you know. We're not getting good value. We're more about good value, okay, than actually getting loads and loads of marketing done for free. Okay, so just 1 second. Right. Okay. So let's carry on. Too many things all going at once here. So let's have a look at what the next step is. So we've got our let me just get my back up. We've got our next things. Let's have a look at the marketing mix, okay? Because the marketing mix is a big one. As I said, we are going to look into it more detail. What is the marketing mix? Now, the marketing mix, it used to be known as the 4Ps. Now it's known as the 7Ps, okay? Now, we're going to do the 4Ps today, and then when we get into it a little bit more, we'll do the 7Ps. Now, why are they called the 4Ps? And eagle-eyed viewers will see product, place, price, promotion. 4 things that start with the word P. Okay, product, place, price, promotion. Now, what are these things? Now, they are very, very broad. They are very, very wide-reaching, and although you can sort of separate them out, don't be too worried about getting them in the wrong place, essentially, of going, well, because as long as you can justify why you've put it in there, then there is a lot of scope for moving these sort of sections around a little bit, because there is more as well. And business theories change this a lot all the time. So as business theory has developed, we've already increased this to 7Ps. A lot of people think, and I think personally, that you don't really need 7Ps. You can kind of all get that in the 4. They've not really said anything in the 7Ps that they wouldn't have said in the 4. But we will go into more detail, and I'll tell you all about them. But anyway, let's have a little look at each one. So we'll say, what's the product? Okay, so for the product, we've got product portfolio, we've got branding, USPs, what's the product life cycle? Again, something we're going to go into it. What is USP? We're going to talk about it, but it's unique selling point. We already know this by now, don't we? What is the main thing that you are doing? All right. Price, is it going to be high? Is it going to be low? Is it going to be a direct competitor to a product? Is it going to be something that we have a major issue with directly going up against a major competitor? Are we a small business and we're going to try and go in with a low price and sort of clean up on the market? That's another decision that we have to make, isn't it? And we can look at different pricing structures, which we will do. Are we... What in terms of is our strategy short term versus long term? Brilliant, because it's going to force you to do some AO for this. What is our ultimate plan, and how are we going to get there today? So you might say, well, we want to be third most dominant in the market by the end of the year. But you might be saying, well, we're going up against people like Coca-Cola and Pepsi. It's never going to happen. You're never going to be able to do that. Is it feasible to actually do these things? And that would probably come under price, because we would make pricing decisions based on those things. Are we price takers or are we price makers? Do people look to us? Like, if you're Apple or Samsung, why do you think that when they've put, a couple of years ago, probably only about 2 years ago now, isn't it? There wasn't a mobile phone that was released above £1,000. That wasn't a thing. And then I'm pretty sure it was Apple that pushed it through that little barrier with the iPhone 10, perhaps. It was around that anyway. And then what did Samsung do? Well, Samsung actually at the time, they decided to undercut them and put the price slightly lower. The problem with doing that, and as I said, we will go into more detail in the actual price lesson, is the implied quality of that product. If you're willing to sell your product for lower than your major competitor, then are you not finding that everybody's thinking that your product isn't as good? That is an issue, isn't it? That's a potential issue for you as a business. So what did they do? They looked at the main competitor. Samsung looked at Apple, and instead of going in with that lower price, look at them now. If you go into buy a brand new flagship phone today, the S20, is it the S20 Plus Pro 5G or whatever it is that the new one is. It's like 1,500 quid. It's like 1,200 quid. The Samsung Galaxy Flip, $2,000 when it came out. It's insane. But they look at each other. Apple put the prices up, Samsung put the prices up, Apple put the prices up, Samsung, and you can see that the market is slowly going up. And you've got these other alternatives like Huawei and OnePlus and LG and Sony and people like that still trying to compete in that market. But Sony and people like that are not price makers, they're price takers, because they look at that competitor and go, look at what Apple are doing, look at what Samsung are doing. They're the dominant forces in this market. We will do it based on that. Okay. So, next, let's have a look at Place. Okay, so Place, where a business sells its products, the methods that are used to distribute. Now, this is something that students get confused a lot about, is Place. They get confused in the fact of they start talking about where they sell them, not how they distribute them. And it's really important that we understand that, is how they distribute that product as well. So is it direct to the consumer? Can the consumer buy it off your website? Do you go through some kind of intermediary? Do you give it to some kind of, a middleman, essentially, a retailer? Or do you go through multiple lines? So you give it to somewhere like Costco or Macro, the word escapes me off the top of my head, but how many levels of distribution have we got? Don't forget to talk about that, because that's what they mean in Place, okay? The marketplace where buyers and sellers meet, and the use of the internet to distribute. Big time now. I mean, we talk a lot about business, don't we, in terms of, in the olden days, we never used to use the internet and that. I think we've passed that. I don't think there's any need to talk about that. Yes, we used to use different things, but the internet is so rife and so usable as well that it gives smaller businesses an opportunity to compete with larger businesses. It's a really good opportunity for people like yourselves who might want to start a small business and start thinking, how can I do it? Well, the internet makes it fair play for everyone, really, as long as you understand the basics of, how to market your product, to still do your market research and stuff like that. Okay. Promotion. Attempts to draw the attention of the product. What can we do to promote your product? Gain and retain customers, to give the customers awareness and information, and types of advertising media. Quite a lot of different things, and remember, don't worry, I'm going through these quite quickly, I know that, but don't worry, because we're going to do a lesson on each one, so you can, feel free to go back and, put these in, but alright, let's carry on. So, what is the marketing mix? The marketing mix is a combination of all the marketing decisions that a business makes. It's basically the whole structure of how that product is made, everything from the product, the price, the place, the promotion, everything from deciding what colour a car should be painted, all the way to how we should advertise it, and everything in between. So, what key issues have to be considered? Well, there's a number of key issues with this, and each one of them has their own key issues, really. You can make mistakes very easily on each one of them. So, product, what's your demographic? Are you confident that your demographic is going to want this? Have you done your market research? What's your competitors doing? There's a wide range of issues that come about here, isn't it? Which is brilliant for you guys, because you can talk about them in the exam. What about the price? Are you a price maker? Are you a price taker? What's your competitors doing? What is your business known for, in terms of, is it known to be a cheaper brand? Look at like Aldi and Lidl, right? They've had to rebrand themselves, and I think Lidl have done it better than Aldi. Aldi's still seen as very, very cheap stuff, but Lidl has kind of elevated themselves a little bit, which is really, really good. And I don't know if we'd have to have a look in terms of market share and stuff, how it's affected that, but I don't know if you've experienced both the shops, but I always find that Lidl, I feel a little bit more like I'm getting something a little bit better now. They've got an in-store bakery. They do all these different things. They've sort of up-marketed themselves a little bit, whereas Aldi have still gone with that, very, very bland. They've not changed at all, really, which is fine for them. As I said, they're differentiating themselves in terms of, look, it's low price. It's low price. It's not. It's pretty good quality a lot of the time, but it's not. You don't go to Aldi for an amazing shopping experience. You go to Aldi because you think you want to make a saving. Place. How are you going to distribute that thing? Are you going to be able to distribute? Look at the situation we're in at the minute. We're in lockdown, or as locked down as we can be. And businesses are struggling to get stuff out there. If you're someone like Amazon, I ordered something off Amazon the other day. It was pretty good. I mean, usually it wasn't next day delivery or whatever like it usually is, but it's not. It took them a couple of days. I mean, that's amazing that Amazon have still got the abilities and the infrastructure there to be able to cope with that. And other businesses are having to think about this. How do they distribute the product? Think about the situation we're in at the minute with companies closing left, right, and centre. And I don't mean closing. Some are closing for good. Some are closing because the government have told them to. Place is all about the how they distribute their product. So are they doing what's it called? Are they doing a delivery service? Are they doing a how are they distributing it? Because if you go to like a chippy or a takeaway, or even a restaurant, chippies and takeaways are more likely to do delivery anyway. But think about places like Frankie and Benny's. This is going to cripple them unless they adjust to the situation. So they have to, on the fly, change the marketing mix. Not something a lot of businesses have to do as dramatically as this. But it is something that we have to be aware of, and something that we have to be, sort of more, we have to be ready for these kind of things. And maybe that's what this sort of pandemic thing will help businesses to do, is to be ready with contingency plans and be more, sort of have the contingency plans in place. Final one's promotion. Attempt to draw attention to the product, gain and retain customers, to give customers awareness. And what are the issues with that? People get naffed off with advertisers. People don't like it. You get lots of people who make complaints about advertisements. There is a very stringent certain things that you can't allow to do. The ASA, the Advertising Standards Agency, are the people who who sort of like intervene and stop people doing things they shouldn't be in advertising. So you're not allowed to be derogatory. I think there is actually a brand new bit of legislation. I'd have to have a look at it, but I'm sure I read about it the other day where they were talking about gender. You can't have gender bias in advertising anymore. That was a new ASA ruling. I'll have to have a look into that, but I will update you when I find out. I'm pretty sure that did happen. But that's massive. That's a massive thing for advertisers. They're going to have to considerably change the way. Look at the way that they advertise Barbie and things like that. It's all pink. There's these little girls dancing around. Well, what if you can't be gender specific now? It makes you have a big, really big think about how Mattel are going to actually advertise that product anymore. And maybe they should, maybe it's time it is a bit more broader. Maybe it is a bit of time that we don't say, oh yeah, well, little girls have to like pink and things like that. It's 2020. We've got to push on a little bit, haven't we? So, we're nearly done, okay? So don't go crazy. I mean, in terms of the actual content, we're nearly there, okay? So approaches to marketing, we've got 3 different approaches. We call them product orientation, we call them asset led, and we call them market orientation. All right, so you've got your product orientation or your market orientation. Now you can pause this as long as you want. You can have a look at it, really go into it. You're not going to be able to avoid this kind of stuff, so it's important that, okay? So let's just break it down and we'll go through each one really simply. So first of all, we've got product orientation. So a business bases its marketing mix on what the business sees as its internal strengths. So, Apple, Amazon, pharmaceutical companies and things like that are actually doing really well at the minute. You can imagine Apple's probably going to be doing well because they have all the streaming services and things like that. Increased economies of scale, focus on product development, focus on quality, easier to apply production, management methods, works well with the product, sells itself for little comparison. So, with this one, what we're talking about is what is it about those companies that make them special? So if you're talking about product orientation, the brilliant thing about Apple is they sell the iPhone and they have iOS. They sell the Mac, and they have Mac OS. They are known as one of the most innovative companies in the world. They have the iPad. They have these brand names. So one of the strongest things to be a product-orientated company is the fact that they have really, really iconic things. And even if they're the kind of products that become synonymous with things. And what I mean by that is when you look at a kid gets an Amazon Fire tablet for Christmas, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I got my kid an Amazon iPad." Now they don't mean iPad, do they? Because iPad is a brand name. What they mean is that they got them a tablet computer, but we don't say that. Think about Hoover. Hoover's product orientated, because Hoover is a brand name. It's a vacuum cleaner, isn't it? You would say, I've said this as well. Oh, I've just got a new Dyson Hoover. That's ridiculous. What do you mean a Dyson Hoover? That's like saying I'm just going to have a Coca-Cola Pepsi. They're two different brands. So what you mean is you've got a Dyson vacuum cleaner. So, but we're not specific enough as things like that, are we? Now, disadvantages with these kind of things, changing market structure and not responded to because we're not really bothered about the market. We're bothered about the product, and we focus a lot on our product rather than the market and trying to adapt to the market. We try and adapt the market to our product because we're focusing so much on that, and it works a lot of the time. For these big companies, it definitely works. Fashion and taste are not accounted for in the marketing mix. You know, look at what Apple do with their iPhone. They tell you what you should want, and it works. You know, think about the AirPods. I think everybody looks like taxi drivers now because everybody's walking around with one earphone in. But we'd never heard of AirPods. No one cared about having wireless headphones until what did Apple do? They decided for you that you were going to have wireless headphones, and we all responded very positively to it, didn't we? I've got some of the Galaxy ones. And they're great. As I said, it's important to me that these companies do push me into trying new things, because maybe I would have stuck to the old ones. Everyone used to say that the all wireless headphones aren't very good quality. I find them to be fine. They're really, really good. They're really handy. I like the fact you can put one in and stuff like that. I just think it's crazy when you see people walking down the street and they've got one headphone in, and there'll be a person walking next to them talking to them, and it's that headphone they've put in. So they'll be on the right hand side, and then they'll have a headphone in, so it's blocking the sound from the person. Pretty crazy. Second one is asset led. Okay, so when marketing decisions are based on the needs of the consumer and the strengths of the business. So what assets do we have in terms of the business, and how can we use them effectively to satisfy the needs? Remember, it's about interpreting, anticipating, satisfying. That's what we want to do. So for this one, we've got advantages of these. We've got let's have a look at things. So it says like Tesco loyalty cards, Dyson, Mars, that kind of stuff. So we look at what the market wants. We look at what the needs of the consumers are, and then we use the strengths of the business to try and push it along. So product orientation, we've got the side of we try and ignore really what we want, and we push it on them. It's a little bit of a basic rundown of it. They're a little bit more complicated than that, but we will go into more detail about it later on. Or we've got the asset led. What assets have we got enable us to actually physically do it? And then, but it can be expensive to collect the information. Remember, we're going to be doing market research, primary, secondary, it's difficult. And then market orientation is your third one. A business bases its marketing mix on its perception of what the market wants. So it's to the other extreme. So instead of looking at trying to make the market what you want, you look at what the market does want, or to the best of your ability what they want, maybe what competitors are doing, things like that, and then we try and respond to the most effectively we can. So people like the fashion industry, McDonald's, Coca-Cola don't tell you to want something. If they see that energy drinks are doing particularly well, they'll do a Coca-Cola energy drink. McDonald's, if they see that we need more chicken products because KFC is doing really well, then they'll have a look at what they could do in terms of providing some kind of chicken dish or something like that. They're not going to go toe-to-toe with them because there seems to be unnecessary to do that, but they're going to try and hoover up. Good one McDonald's did. Do you remember when they brought in the subs? Shortly after Subway was doing really well, they started to bring in like wraps and subs and things, and the idea is, look, the market wants subs. We're going through a trend period here where people like subs, so let's make some. We don't want to be losing out to Subway because we don't have a product offering that people aren't wanting to buy the Big Mac. They're wanting to do that instead. Okay, so and then we've got some advantages for this one: flexible to changes in taste and fashion, decisions based on effective market research, new products designed to meet the customer needs, which is really, really good. Disadvantages, though, we've got a large amount of high market research constraints by internal change. The problem with this is you're always going to be constrained. You're a taker. You're always going to be constrained by what the market wants, by what competitors do, and things like that. Whereas if you can push it towards that product orientated, or even the asset led type of thing, you're a little bit more free from that sort of constraint. It's not perfect, and you can't successfully run a business by just going, oh well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Okay, you've got to look at the situation and try and adjust as you go. Also, market orientation, unpredictability of the future, abandonment of earlier product investment and stuff like this. This is a good point. If you do it wrong, if you don't have a time when you can decide how much money you're going to put into something. Apple have done this. One of the big ones for Apple, I don't know if you saw this, but it was the Apple double charging thing. So they I don't know if you've ever watched the Apple broadcast thing that they do. I think it was last year or the year before. They mentioned a wireless charger that you would be able to put your phone and your watch and your AirPods all on the same charger, and it was going to be amazing. And then they never released it. So they announced it. and then I think what they realised was that they couldn't actually do it, because the way that wireless technology works is it's off a coil. So if you had like a circle in the middle of a wireless charger, then that's why if you put essentially if you put your device on top of it, it has to be right on top of it. So the two pieces of metal sort of can It's done with sort of like electromagnetic currents and things like this. It's kind of like a conduction hob, but you have to have them like straight on like that. So that's why if you put them like that, it's not going to work. So you need them straight on. What Apple was saying is you'd be able to do it anywhere, and you can't do that. You'd need 1,000,001 different coils in the thing, which wouldn't have been feasible to do. So they have, from my knowledge, they've abandoned it. Look at the iPod. They've abandoned it, haven't they? They used to be more product orientated, but then they looked at the market and went, well, look, people don't want this anymore, so let's abandon it. So it's a case of that combination approach as well. What do you think this company is? How could they be more effective? And what kind of approach do you think they're using? Okay, so I'm not gonna ask you to do this here. You can go and have a look in your own time. This was New Coke. It was when Coca-Cola tried to rebrand themselves in terms of a new taste. Okay, it's not something that was particularly well thought of, and this was either the worst cock-up in history for Coca-Cola, or it was something that was a brilliant bit of marketing, because what they did was they changed the taste of Coca-Cola, told everyone in America kicked off really big time. There was plaques, there was people kicking off, there was people ringing up that they were dealing with literally several thousand complaints a day about this New Coke thing. And then they re-announced the old Coke would be coming back, Coca-Cola Classic, and and then everybody went out and bought it. So it's either they were trying to compete and the market research was done poorly and led to them making a complete hash of it. So go on YouTube, have a look at New Coke, it's insane. Or the what do we call ourselves? Conspiracy nuts. We think it was a marketing campaign, a very successful marketing campaign at that as well, because not only did they get people, in times when Coca-Cola had just become a staple in people's diet, they got people to really, really want that. Imagine if they told you that whatever your favourite product was, they were changing it to a completely different thing, and they hadn't asked your permission, because a lot of it was to do with that. So have a look at that one. It's a bit of a crazy one. So we'll just have a little look over product. So basically, when we're looking at the product side of it, businesses much consider and play close attention to a number of features of the product, how consumers will use the product, the appearance of the product, financial factors, market position. All right, it's when we say market position, it's how you're going to market yourself. Are you going to market yourself as luxury? Are you going to market yourself as very cheap? Are you going to market yourself as an alternative, sort of more trendy? Are you going to try and go with the trend or something like that? The appearance of the product, are you going to go with something that's quite like other competitors? Are you going to go with something completely different? That's your choice. And how will consumers use the product? If it's something brand new, which rarely products are, but if it is something brand new, then you have sort of carte blanche for this. You can do whatever you want with it. But if it isn't, if it's a product which is already pre-established, which most products are, you've got to make a decision of how are you going to differentiate yourself in that regard. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, two different types of products. We've got durable products, do not wear out quickly. They can be used over time, typically characterized by long periods between successive purchases. Things like this, what kind of stuff can you think of? Smartphones, TVs, couches, desks, laptops, cookers, all these different things, all right? Non-durable goods, goods which are immediately used by a consumer. So, food, perishable goods, like maybe something like, you could even go so far as saying like loot boxes and things on games now. They are immediately used, aren't they? So therefore they're not durable goods. They're something you can download and you use it straight away. Can be used single use because they are single use, well, of which has an expected lifespan of 3 years or less. I suppose, there's an argument here, isn't there, to be made. Do you have durable products or do you have non-durable products for iPhones now, for smartphones? Because I think the average smartphone user would I don't think most people have had their smartphone for more than 3 years. So have smartphones actually become non-durable? Is that what's happened here? Have we got durable products? Have they become non-durable? I don't know. It's an interesting concept, isn't it? But this shows how businesses can change. I think we are. I think we're approaching that thing with technology is becoming so fast that it changes so often that people are using them for less than 3 years. You're ready for a new phone after 3 years, aren't you? So perhaps that we talk about them as non-durable. I suppose for companies now, the idea would be there's an opportunity for a large demographic of people who aren't bothered about having the latest and greatest to be able to push this back into durable and make it bigger and better, and a product which you would have for longer and supported for longer and things like that. Another one that we break things down into, convenience or speciality. Consumer goods can be categorized into two categories, convenience goods or speciality goods. These clarifications are based on the assumption about the way consumers purchase a predetermined pattern. So is it something that they go out of their way to do, or is it something that they will buy just off the cuff? Is it something like, when supermarkets put all the chocolate near the checkouts? Why? Because they know you probably pick one up on the way out. That's a convenience product. That's something that you will buy just because you've seen it. They say don't go shopping when you're hungry because you will end up buying more stuff. Or is it a speciality good in terms of something that you've researched, you've spent a lot of time looking at the alternatives, you've looked at online reviews, you go and have a look at something. A lot of people will actually look, and I do this all the time, go into a store like Currys or something like that and actually look at online retailers there and then. That's a massive issue for speciality retailers, but we will get back onto that when we talk a little bit more about price. Things here I've just said, but the basic thing is that the convenience good, the pattern is that the most accessible brand will be purchased. So, if there's a Twix there, you're probably not going to freak out if there's not a Crunchy. If you just want some chocolate, you'll just have that. All right, you'll just pick it up off the thing and just have it. Customers will use an outlet store because it's the most accessible. You're not really that bothered. Specialty goods, though, it's only a specific brand. People have these things, and you might yourself be more of a specialty good. I'd say I am a specialty good purchaser, but only for certain things. I know a lot of people only buy specialty goods for clothes. I wouldn't say I do that. I don't only buy certain brands of clothes. I know a lot of students do. So in which case, if that's you, then you're more of a specialty good. You will look into what they've come out with, and you will look into what's the alternatives and things like that. I'm going to focus on that brand because I like Nike, I like Adidas, I like Under Armour, whatever it is. Consumers will go considerably out of their way to reach it, and these people who are buying crazy stuff from the Nike store or things like that because you can't get hold of them anywhere else. I saw the other day actually there was a there was a thing coming to Manchester. I don't know if it's already been, but it was a big shoe convention. So it was like like sneaker shoes. It was like Nike and things like that. Something that you can go and you can barter with other shoe collectors. Essentially, that's extremely speciality, isn't it? So it's a specialty good because it's an extreme speciality of the situation, and we will go out of our way to get that, to go to somewhere like that. So some goods have been classed as convenience, others might be classed them as speciality. Try and get them to become speciality. Thornton's market the chocolate as a brand of chocolate worth travelling for. Okay, so just as an example, milk, bread, cigarettes, magazines, medicines. Can you put anything else in there? I know some people are really bothered about cigarettes and only smoke certain ones, but it's usually not really a massive thing. And with the designer clothes, specific branded products, Apple, KFC, Costa, that kind of stuff, people will go out of the way to have that. Oh, it's got 11 spices, herbs and spices, that kind of stuff, so I will go and buy the KFC product. Now, how many have we got left? Okay, we're nearly done. All right, so we're probably looking at another 20 minutes. So let's. I'll finish on. I'll keep going, and then you can come back. As I said, I don't mind if people are logging off, logging back on. That's totally fine. I know it's quite intense to be listening to me yabber on for all this time. That's why I do the recording. So it's you can go and come back if you want. Now, what is product differentiation? So differentiation is the process of distinguishing a product or service to make it more appealing. And basically, it's all about USP, unique selling point. So we can differentiate our product in a wide range of different ways. The methods of promotion, so we might only advertise it on places. I know that there is one of the teachers in our department, she's very aware of a certain brand, and she knows that they only do certain limited releases on the website. That's not something that I follow, but she's dead on it. So if you ever want to know about that brand, you say, oh, well, how are they doing at the minute? You say, all right, well, there'll be a release on Friday, and if you're not on there, that you won't get one because they'll sell out in like 2 minutes. That is a very, very good unique selling point. But I was thinking of another one. I can't remember what they're called off the top of my head, though. Packaging, the physical form of the product, quality and reliability. So what is it about that product? What is it about the physical form of the product and physical quality and durability that makes it better than other products? Basically, how are you going to make people want this product? And is it the packaging? Is it the physical form? Is it the quality? What is it that your USP actually involves? All right. Let's have a look at a couple of these. So it's an aspect or feature that makes the product unique. We've got Marmite. Marmite is really, really well known by its really distinctive marketing and the product itself. I mean, it's yeast extract, isn't it, Marmite? Look at the vacuum cleaner on the left-hand side. It's obviously a Dyson. Why? Because it's got that really distinctive yellow colour to it. And other companies can do it, but it's never the same. The design aspect, and it's got that cyclone technology that they use in the middle as well. Lidl, really, really obvious. Lidl, always very distinctive colours. It's always very consistent. You know when you're in a Lidl shop. If I was to put you in the middle of a supermarket and you didn't know where you are, and I asked you to close your eyes and just open your eyes, I bet you'd be able to tell you where you were straight away. The ones you would struggle with, if it wasn't Lidl or Aldi, I bet you'd be able to tell me straight away. But if it was somewhere like Morrison's is easier because you'd probably be able to tell me straight away because it's quite distinctive. Asda and Tesco are difficult because they're very similar. You could probably tell because you'd have a look for colour schemes and things like that. But other than that, they're very, very difficult to really, do. Stuff like Gillette, do a hell of a lot of advertising, the best a man can get and stuff like that. It's just a razor, isn't it? It's just a razor. Waitrose, making out that it is for luxury. It's a luxury supermarket, isn't it? It's one of those where you expect to see the higher ups in society shopping at Waitrose. It's not a cheap place to go. Couple of things that you get from a benefit from it: charge a higher price, definitely one of the biggest things, that the reason we do it for. Easier to promote. Once you've got that USP, you really, really rely on it. You say about the quality, about the fact, yeah, you are paying a little bit of a premium, but don't worry about that because it's worth it. You're going to get this thing. And how's it going to make you feel? The old Android versus Apple thing. How's it going to make you feel if you don't have the latest iPhone and your mate does? Can you really sort of come back from that? And stand out from competition as well. The USP will give you that. and it doesn't have to be something which can't be copied, but you'll be the ones who are known to do it first or do it best and things like that. Because look at Apple, right? Apple is a good example of a company that aren't good at coming up with their own stuff. But what they do is they go into markets afterwards and they make the products better using their own USP, putting their stamp of approval on it, and then they release it and are really successful. They didn't come up with MP3 players, but they did come up with the iPod. They didn't come up with smartphones, but they did come up with the iPhone. They didn't come up with wireless headphones, but they did come up with the AirPods. And that's what they do. This is how the power of a USP can be used. Product portfolio will be made up of different things. So we're just going to cover product portfolio. This is literally the last thing that I want to cover today, is product portfolios with you. Really, really something that you're not going to be able to avoid product portfolios. But and we have some theory of the ways that we do it. But basically, product portfolio is all about different products or product lines, and we group different types of products together. So your product portfolio for Walkers will be all the different brands that Walkers do. So shout them out if you can think of any, or Cadbury or things like that. So if you go into, I did this. I remember I went into Tesco probably about a couple of years ago now, and I just went in and tried to buy one of every product that Cadbury do, just as a test, to be honest, because I wanted to prove a point to a class. So I went to try to buy, and there was loads of them. There was absolutely loads. You don't realise how much they have. Their product portfolio is absolutely huge. Even if you look at the dairy milk side of Cadbury, they have dairy milk this, dairy milk that, dairy milk this, dairy milk that, dairy milk, and you think, they have such a wide variety. Why is that good? Having a diverse portfolio, it means that if something goes wrong and people go off a certain product, that you've got a hell of a lot of other products that will carry on your business going. So if you rely on one product, if Apple only relied on the iPhone won't be around forever. I can't imagine it continuing to be the most popular bit of kit. Maybe for your demographic, maybe for the 16 to 19 demographic, but not for everyone. People are getting bored of it. People like new things. People are going over to Android. And Android won't be around forever. There'll be something else that comes out for that as well. So consider these companies that have one type of product, and these companies which are failing now on the streets because they've only got one type of product, bakeries, chippies, things like that. And then consider people like Walkers. Are Walkers going to go under because of Corona? No, it's not realistic that they would. Why would they not go under? Well, because they've got a wide, they're a strong company that's well developed, and they've got a significantly diverse product range as well, which means that the product portfolio is nicely diverse, if that makes sense. Look at them. Okay, so we've got quite a wide range, haven't we? We've got Max, we've got Lay's, we've got Sensations, Monster Munch, Ruffles, Squares, Stacks, French fries. There's all sorts in there, and if any of those, look at the Stacks one. That's just Pringles, isn't it? But their own version of it. They will look at the situation. So if we were to think about them, are they product orientated or market orientated? I think it's definite to say that Walkers would be market orientated, because look at what they do. They look at the market, they do the research, and then they come out with things if they see it being successful. They do their own market research as well, don't get me wrong, but it is something that that they have to sort of spend some time on and look at the competitors and react if they can. Now, product portfolio, ultimate goal for the business is never to have a gap in the market. If they can satisfy all the different gaps in the market, then they can really benefit from those things. Achieving this goal helps the business because cash flow and profits can be balanced out. Remember, we talked about cash flows in the last. If you can't remember it, go back a couple of lessons and have a look at the cash flow one. We need to maintain cash flow in the business. Sometimes it might be seasonal. Sometimes there might be more sales. Pringles sell particularly well at Christmas. But what do Walkers do? Or Pepsi, I think, on Pringles now, don't they? But what do they do if some of them sell one month and don't sell the other? Are they able to, continuously make profit, or are they very seasonal, up and down, cash flows going up and down because they haven't got a consistent? They only sell one product, and certain times of the year people don't want it. Brand loyalty can be increased. We like the fact that it's Walkers. We like the fact that it's Cadbury. We will buy it because it's them. Brand awareness is improved. The products might be more trusted. Overall, the risk is more balanced. And we can cover more segments as well. Look at what is there anything that Walkers and Cadbury don't cover? Definitely in their own segments in terms of confectionery for for Cadbury and savoury snacks for walkers. They have a hell of a lot of diverse product range, all sorts, globally. Global companies do all sorts of different things. Even in different countries, they do a wide range of things. Okay. Now, how would you define a brand? Okay, so if I was to ask you about a brand, how would you define it? Well, the official one is a brand is a name, term, sign, symbol, or design which identifies a seller's products and differentiates them from a competitor's products. You know these different brands, Coca-Cola, Nike, IKEA, McDonald's, the Golden Arches, yeah? You don't need me to tell you that that's McDonald's. You know, if I was to say Big Mac to you, if I was to say AirPod to you, if I was to say, if I was to say something to you in sort of like a Swedish way, or this product is a table and give it a Swedish name, you'd go IKEA. How do you know that? Because these are very, very well branded companies. They have consistency of message, they have consistency of advertisement, they have consistency of brand image throughout the products. They are the most iconic images in our things. In fact, they said if you ask more, I think when they said if you ask a 2-year-old, more 2-year-olds knew Ronald McDonald than they did Jesus. That's impressive, isn't it? That shows the power of branding, the fact that people... And why? Well, because they probably haven't come into contact with Jesus very much, That's why, because McDonald's target 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and try to really get in there when they're young, because they say, oh, well, come and buy a Happy Meal, it makes you happy, you'll have a really, really great time. Come and have your... your birthday parties and stuff here, and you should love it. And parents, you should take your kids to McDonald's when they've done something good and as a reward, and then we can get this in their minds and stuff. So it's always a very positive place. Look at what McDonald's have done for their kids recently in terms of the iPad thing. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. I don't know if that's a particularly good idea. It's all grubby. I sort of like wince a little bit. I know that aside from the corona stuff, it's horrible, isn't it? The idea that those kids are touching anything and then touching those iPads, and it's horrible. Benefits to ease customer choice. It's really easy to buy Coca-Cola. I'll just make it easy for us, okay? I can pick up a Coca-Cola, I know it. If I go in somewhere, I don't even have to say if it's red, it's usually Coca-Cola. If Diet Coke is silver, you'll be able to tell me all these different things. You'll know what they are. Increase the price inelasticity. So with things like Dyson have made their products more inelastic by branding them. The fact it says Dyson on it means that you are willing to pay more. It means that you are more willing to allow them to put the price up, and you are not going to respond too badly. So remember about elasticity and inelasticity. Inelasticity is there is a less than proportional change to demand when we change price. So if you change your price by 10%, there is less than a 10% change to demand. Whereas if it's elastic, there's more than a 10% change. So we can make it more inelastic. We can hopefully make it so that people will be less likely to go to an alternative if we've got a really, really strong brand. Some people will only use Dyson, only use Heinz, only use Cadbury, whatever it is. To differentiate the product is a big one. It mentions Tiffany on here. To gain flexibility when making pricing decisions, Heinz are a lot more expensive than alternatives. You can get you're going to buy Heinz beans, you can buy, is it like they're about £1, a can. But if you went into Tesco and got Tesco's own beans, you can pick them up for about 14p. Why are you willing to pay 80% more? No, sorry, not 18%. It's more like 800% more or something crazy like that, isn't it? For a Heinz product, and it's because you get the quality assurance, you get the brand image, you get the unique taste, you get all those different things. To help recognition, Nike is one of the most globally recognized brands. Really, really strong. Advertise, they advertise a lot. They do loads of sponsorship. It's really, really obvious to understand what Nike is and see it at a glance, isn't it? And very, very distinctive as well. That white tick. It's just so distinctive. Develop a brand image and separate from the crowd. This is a good one. Ben & Jerry's do this brilliantly. Ben & Jerry's is owned by Unilever. Unilever is a very, very seen as a very, very negative brand, and they do a lot of negative stuff. They've done animal testing in the past and stuff like that. Ben & Jerry's differentiated themselves by saying, look, we care about society. We care about natural things. We care about the world, and we're going to make positive changes, and we're going to try and do positive things for people. A bit like Innocent Smoothies do. That's how they differentiate themselves. We're not just anybody. Because it's hard to differentiate an ice cream brand, isn't it? How do they do it? They do it with funny names, they do it with the colours, but Ben & Jerry's, you know that they are seen to be this really nice company. High cost of advertising, though. We've got brands invite competition. If you can see that there is a really, really strong brand, it makes you want to compete with them. You can think, well, I could do better than that, or... where do you see yourself? Well, I see myself as like Nike, but cheaper with the same quality. It tries to make you sort of buy more, doesn't it? High cost of R&D, loss of brand value for one product can leave the rest of the portfolio. So essentially, if you screw one up, imagine if it was Cadbury, right? If you screw one thing up, it might completely trash a load of other products. If you've got and that's sort of the negative of a diverse product range, isn't it? If you imagine if they did, I think Cadbury, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm sure I did. I'm sure I saw a thing. I watched a TV program recently about Cadbury, and there was a scare where there was some salmonella in Cadbury products ages ago, years ago, and they had to try and come back from that. Imagine the drop in sales from all Cadbury products, because then you can't trust Cadbury. You know, the reason you buy Cadbury is because you think, right, they've got the best quality, they've got the best health assurance, and blah, blah, blah. You don't want to think that you might buy something and it could have salmonella in it. So it could actually be a very negative thing to the business as well. Just be aware. Okay. Now, last little things I want to talk to you about, and you've got these in your book, so I'm not going to spend ages on them, but I'd like you to have a go at this question in your book. Analyse one benefit and one drawback of branding to a multinational company with a pride product portfolio. Let's just have a quick look at the AOs. Analyse is AO3, isn't it? So analyse one benefit and one drawback. That's all you need to do. So talk to me about them. Tell me one benefit, one drawback of a multinational company with a wide product portfolio. Tell me about Cadbury. You know, the fact of look at the benefits that they get by having, you know, that lack of seasonality, that lack of all that stuff, but then the other bits as well. All right. Final things I just wanted to talk to you about is the evaluation. Evaluate the importance of having the right product to a business and their stakeholders. Consider with the following stakeholders why it's important for the business to operate the correct product. This is just stakeholder practice. So like we do on more streams, stakeholder practice is really important because we know that there's going to be a stakeholder question on that final exam. So businesses, customers, suppliers, government, if they don't get the right product, what are they going to do to it? Okay, so again, it's something I would like you to have a go at, and you know, fill it in your book and things like that, and just you know, have a think about it. Use those evaluation skills that you are producing. Okay. That, ladies and gents, brings us to the end of the start of marketing. Now, I know that was, you know, I know, bang, 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 bang. We've done a hell of a lot. And the benefit of this is that you can go back and have a look at them. But let's just recap what we've done. We've talked about USPs. We've talked about the product portfolios. We've talked about product, place, price, promotion. Do not worry, because this is just an introduction. In the coming weeks, I'm going to do a specific lesson on price. I'm going to do a specific lesson on promotion. I'm going to do one on product portfolios and stuff like that. So don't worry. The only thing I will say to you as from a teacher's perspective to students' perspective is these will be on the final exam. Guaranteed. They're going to put marketing on the final exam. There's no way. It's a quarter of the spec. So they're not going to do anything about, you know, not including it. So it's really important that you understand the product, place, price, promotion, but also the sort of marketing mix and things like that. Okay, so last thing I want to do today is, like we usually do, is just have a little look at the news. If that's okay with you, we'll just see what's going on in the world of business and in the world. Hopefully it's a bit better today. Let's have a little look. Okay, so let's just quickly refresh and just see if there's anything else. Oh, wow. There's brand new information. So Prince Charles tests positive for coronavirus. 71-year-old has mild symptoms but otherwise remains in good health. This is a significant thing, isn't it? Have you noticed this? The reason I know that there isn't a secret... conspiracy head on. The reason I know that there isn't a secret vaccine out there is because the wealthy in society are getting this stuff. So use that as a rule of thumb. If rich people are still dying from things or still contracting things, then there isn't a vaccine for it yet, is there? Because if there was, they wouldn't ever get it, and if they did get it, they'd recover very, very quickly. Although I suppose in this case, it's saying that he's got mild symptoms. So no, I'm only joking. Let's have a look at the other one. So we've got, this is something that's been coming up quite a thing. This is quite positive stuff. Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott to play a free NHS gig. Former Beautiful South duo will give away 9,000 tickets to hospital staff to say thank you. This is something that seems to be going on now, is people on the other side of it. They're thinking about what we're going to do when this all blows over. What are we going to do to try and help these people? What we're going to do. And that's a good thing, isn't it? The NHS do need our support and things like that. What else have we got? We've got the Queen is still in good health. That's good. India goes quiet as 1.3 billion people told to stay home. Wow. It's a massive one, isn't it? India shutting down is a big one. We've got things about pregnancy. Jordan eases curfew. Jordan, where 153 confirmed cases have been reported, the government has eased the indefinite curfew. Ministers announced on Monday that the people would not be permitted to leave their homes and that municipalities would deliver essential goods like bread and water. But on Tuesday, Prime Minister Omar Rizaz said people would now be allowed to leave their homes on foot during the day to go to local grocery stores, bakeries and pharmacies. I mean, has anybody noticed this? Has anybody seen this with sort of things that are going on at the minute? They said that people can go out for a walk, so everyone seems to be going absolutely mental walking. You think, like, it doesn't mean go out for a run. Everyone's taking up running. Try and stay in. I know it's nice weather. That's a massive negative thing. I said this on the earlier stream. The weather is a negative because everybody's thinking, it's lovely weather outside. Sit in your garden. Stop going out, please. It's important. It's important. Let's just do one more before we call it for today. What have we got? There has been a big response for the UK government's call for NHS volunteers with more than 250,000 people. The scheme is aimed at relieving pressure on the health service by recruiting helpers to deliver food and medicines, drive patients from the appointment. Now, let's not, this is fantastic. I'm really pleased that the government are doing positive stuff for the country, and I'm really, really pleased that the NHS seem to be coping. But what the hell's going on when a country has to do this? Does that not show how frail our NHS is? We need to put more funding into it, don't we? Because we shouldn't have to be asking the man on the street to volunteer. We shouldn't have to. This is serious. People are dying. We shouldn't be asking people to putting themselves at risk to do this. And that's a difficult one because, as I said, I'm not saying that I don't think it's a positive thing. Of course I think it's a positive thing that, 250,000 people are really happy to help. But if those 250,000 people come into contact with coronavirus and then end up having negative responses to it, then the whole system falls down, doesn't it? So it's a really negative thing. As I said, I don't want to end on a negative. Let's find a positive story, shall we? Let's find a positive story. What have we got? Why has it done that? There we are. Let's find a positive story. Oh, there's treasure in your toilet. That one's good. Oh God, there's some depressing stuff on the BBC at the minute, isn't there? I met my boyfriend 12 years after giving birth to his child. Right? How does that work? What? What? How does that work? You didn't meet? Avoid using microwave to get faster internet. Brilliant. Let's finish with this. Okay, let's finish with this. People should people should avoid using microwave at the same time as their Wi-Fi. Media operator Ofcom has said, as part of help to advise improve internet speeds. It comes as millions work remotely and rely on streaming services. The UK was told to stay at home. It's put pressure on broadband providers, with BT's Openreach reporting a 20% surge in internet use. The government as reliable internet speeds were crucial as the UK battles the coronavirus. Ofcom's advice ranges from seemingly obvious, like downloading films in advance rather than streaming them, to someone else maybe trying to make a video call, to the less expected. Did you know that microwave ovens can also reduce Wi-Fi signals, Ofcom asks? So don't use your microwave when you're making video calls, watching HD videos, or doing something important online. Brilliant. And let's just have a look at the fantastic other tips, because these are amazing. Position your internet router as far away from other devices as possible. Keep your router switched on. Yeah, don't turn your internet off. Yeah, if you found that is there a problem with your internet? Is it turned on? I'm gonna call it there. I'm getting out of hand. I hope this has been useful. We're gonna go into more detail over the next couple of days. What day is it? It's Wednesday. It feels like we've been doing these forever, but we're doing well. Okay. Thank you for joining me. I will see you tomorrow at 10.